Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming our participants for Session 7, our Summit Dialogue on Asia-Pacific Connectivity, and our moderator for Session 7. Good morning. And ladies and gentlemen, to lead us in our dialogue on Asia-Pacific connectivity, please join me now in welcoming our moderator, our first one of the day, Mr. Peter Gontha, publisher, BeritaSatu Media Holdings.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is, welcome to Bali, first of all, but I think this is a very interesting session. We have here 5 gentlemen from many different backgrounds, but also different companies. We have here Frank Appel, we have Tony Fernandes, Terry, we have, Scott Price, and, I forgot names. Hold on. And Keith Williams, okay? And different backgrounds, again, as I said, and this is probably one of the, I believe, one of the most interesting panels. But we'll start, first of all, immediately with Frank Appel. And Frank is the chairman of DHL Express, a division of German logistic company, Deutsche Post. DHL provides international express mail services, and Deutsche Post is the world's largest logistic company operating around the world. DHL is a world market leader in sea and air mail. Originally founded in 1969, but I believe that Post Deliveries is now, what, 300 years old or so?
523.
533, and it started with shipping goods between San Francisco and Honolulu. The company expanded its service throughout the world by the late 70s. The company is primarily interested in offshore and intercontinental deliveries, but one of the competitors, FedEx, prompted their own intra-US expansion in 1983. DHL therefore started to operate internationally, and this is the most interesting part. It is operating in the Soviet Union when nobody went there at that point in time, the Eastern Bloc, Iraq, Iran, China, Vietnam, and even in North Korea. In 1998, Deutsche Post basically acquired the majority shares of DHL, and in 2001 became the sole shareholder of DHL. It is basically a supply chain operator, and Deutsche Post has different entities, subsidiaries like DHL Global Forwarding and DHL Supply Chain. The DHL Express service has ceased domestic operation, although it's still a smaller part in the United States of America. And as of February in 2009, they actually became a very small part only in the United States. Dr. Appel, you are at the helm of the world's leading logistic company, operating at the center of global commerce. From this unique vantage point, tell us how connected is the Asia-Pacific region at this point in time? Please.
Yeah, I think, let me start in the following way, that we have analyzed now for a while the connectedness of regions and countries overall, because of course connectedness is important. And we are not talking only about trade, we are talking about exchange of people, money, information. And if you look into the world, you see that Asia is now catching up. It's still behind Europe, which is the most connected region of the world, North America, and then Asia. Asia is already the most connected region of the world with regard to trade, but not with other dimensions. Why is that important? Because if you look into the detail, you see that the most connected countries are also on the list with the highest human development index. So Most of these countries are based in Europe. One is Singapore. The leading country is the Netherlands, which is the most connected country in the world. And many of those are actually in Europe and have a very high human development index as well. So connectedness is good for prosperity, for development of countries. And Asia is doing a pretty good job in catching up, not only on trade, but also on other dimensions. I think we have to go further beyond, free trade. It's a reduction of administration burden, it's investment opportunities, it's exchange of people, it's exchange of information flows. And Asia is getting better by the day, and that's good news because, as I said, it shows how well countries are prosper. The more open countries are, the more connected countries are, the higher they are on the Human Development Index overall, like the Netherlands or Singapore. And that's excellent news, I think, for Asia, because if Asia becomes more connected, the countries will prosper from that.
DHL, in the perspective of the global world, how big is DHL operation vis-a-vis the rest of the world? Asia Pacific.
So we have globally almost 500,000 employees. Roughly 60,000 are here. From the revenue standpoint, we have 20% of our revenues already in Asia. So that's a very important market for us already. And we are pretty confident that we can grow that share even to 30% soon. So that's the reason why I'm here as well. This market...
Growing to 30% or is to 30%?
No, 30% of the total revenue.
30%. It's 30% of your total global...
No, 20% now, but we want to grow that to 30% in the next years.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Frank. Let's go to Keith Williams, Underwriters Laboratories. Underwriters Laboratories is an independent product safety certification organization that has been testing products and writing standards for safety for more than a century, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
Underwriters Laboratories evaluates more than 19,000 types of products. It is testing equipment for fire safety, toys, Terry, even iPads and iPods. Tell me, how do you see connectivity affecting the supply chain in the 21st century?
Oh, thank you, Peter. We see actually connectivity among consumers as having a real impact on connectivity in the supply chain around the world. And it's interesting, at this meeting there's a lot of discussion about trade agreements, TPP and many other trade agreements, but actually we see many times today that the consumer connectivity is driving quasi-regulatory activity much faster than governments are able to drive the same kind of activity today, because consumers are empowered with information, they're connected globally. We recently completed our 3rd annual product mindset study, and what we're seeing is that the empowerment of consumers and the gaps between consumers and manufacturers really has the opportunity and is in fact leading to the reality of quasi-regulatory changes happening more quickly. We talked about connectivity. Frank mentioned how economies are connected. 88% of the manufacturers we talked to, which was more than 1,500 manufacturers, say that global supply chain is becoming more important, and half of the manufacturers say that they expect to see an increase in the globalization of their supply chain over the next 5 years. But there are some real disconnects as well. So whereas 95% of the manufacturers that we talk to believe that product quality is very important to them, half of the consumers we talk to believe that manufacturers actually use the lowest cost materials and components that they can use to make their products. And while 90% of manufacturers believe that the environment is becoming more important, 40% of consumers believe that manufacturers are not doing enough to be environmentally sensitive in the processes that they use for manufacturing and in the products that they manufacture. And there's some real disconnects that happen between consumers and manufacturers. So 87% of the manufacturers agree that environment is becoming more important. 30% of consumers, actually 39% of consumers, believe manufacturers are not providing enough information about human health impacts of their products. And whereas 69% of the manufacturers think environment is more important than human health impacts, 61% of consumers believe human health impact is more important than environment. So what's happening is that consumer interest is being reflected through retailers and through manufacturers to change the way that people operate their businesses, the way they source products. And it is like a regulatory impact, although it isn't driven by government. Just a couple examples. Walmart, Scott Price's company, has been a world leader in sustainability, and the decisions that Walmart has made has probably had more impact on sustainability than trade agreements or government regulation. And recently, the Safe Factories initiative, which is driven out of the incidents that have happened with factories in Bangladesh and Pakistan and other countries, is having a greater impact on workplace safety and workplace working conditions than can be driven by trade agreements. So I think one of the interesting impacts of connectivity is that the empowerment and connectivity of consumers is driving regulatory activity faster than governments are able to drive it themselves.
Well, thank you, Keith. I just want to ask you one question specific to what you mentioned at the beginning of what you actually pondered on, is the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Yes.
Why did you mention that? I mean, not all countries in Asia have actually agreed to this Trans-Pacific Partnership. Why did you specifically mention that?
Well, it was the first one that came to my mind, but there are so many trade agreements. It's like an alphabet soup. As you know, there's a TPP, there's many bilateral free trade agreements, there's the RCEP agreement with ASEAN and its major trading partners, there's transatlantic trade talks. All of those trade talks are moving forward in one way or another. But many times, because of consumer connectivity and the things consumers are demanding, retailers, manufacturers, consumers are moving faster than any of those trade talks are able to react.
Okay, also my last question before we continue with Scott is, you're testing a lot of equipment. You're apparently playing a very important role in goods being manufactured in Asia, via Asia Pacific, being distributed to the consumer. How close are you to Terry? Are you friendly with Terry?
Well, actually today was my first chance to meet him. But Foxconn is obviously a very important client for
all right.
historically for UL.
Let's continue with Scott. The chairman of Walmart Asia, Scott Price assumed his role as president and CEO of Walmart Asia in 2009. He is responsible for the company's operation in Asia, including China, Japan, and India, as well as the development of business in Asia. Scott most recently served as CEO, before he was the CEO of Walmart Asia, of Chief Executive Officer of DHL Express. So you guys know each other well, I believe. Scott also spent a decade with Coca-Cola. He didn't want me to mention the name, but Coca-Cola, a very important company, I believe. Including and assumed various roles, including country leader in Japan and as director and region manager in China. Scott serves as the chairman of the National Center for APEC, the only U.S. business association focused exclusively on facilitating American private sector input to the APEC process and APEC 21 member countries. U.S. native, he has also an MBA degree and a Master of Arts in Asian, but he has a Master of Arts in Asian Studies from the University of Virginia. Scott, how do you see the merchandise industry? How do you see merchandising being distributed? How do you see connectivity in distributing the goods that you are basically involved in?
Thank you, Peter. Let me start by saying I love Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, any cola my customers want to buy. I saw those emails coming. So in the Asia-Pacific economies, Walmart has enormous touch points of connectivity. So every week we have 245 million customers who come through our 8,000 stores and interact with our 1.8 million associates across the region. So for us, connectivity is critical. And so I think for decades we really focused upon physical connectivity, but more and more digital connectivity is becoming critical with the advent of e-com. So if I were to touch on physical connectivity, I mean, the core of the Walmart model is about everyday low price. And the machine that delivers everyday low price is about operating for less, it's buying for less, it's moving for less. That process of looking for efficiency and stripping out the inefficient connectivity is really how we operate that model. More and more digital connectivity is offering really exciting opportunities. So if I were to talk about the buying for less or offering product lines, you know, the scale and the visibility of products is becoming more and more global, which allows you to do things that are, in our mind, good for the communities. So we have a women's economic empowerment initiative whereby we offer women around the world the opportunity with their small businesses to put them online in our Walmart online markets around the world. So we have about 200 products from small women-owned businesses from about 9 countries. So again, a point of connectivity that would have been impossible 10 years ago. We support small businesses this way. Get It on the Shelf was an initiative where we offered any small business the opportunity to sell their products online at Walmart. We had 5,000 entries, and then we had about 1 million votes to pick the top 3 products, and we continue to cycle through that. So the digital world and the connectivity is allowing retailers like a Walmart to be able to offer these unique products that are quite differentiated, but importantly rely very much on connectivity. And then I think finally it's the physical environment. We recently took a majority ownership of an online retailer in China called Yihaodian, which is focused upon grocery and general merchandise in China. And Yihaodian has gone from the digital world into a digital version of the physical world. They have created 1,000 what they're called augmented reality stores. And at one of those stores, it's basically a public area. And you go into this public area, and we, in essence, through technology with your smartphone, you're in essence walking in about a 12,000 square foot store. And you can see product, and you can choose the product, you can put it in your online basket, you can pay for it, and it'll be delivered in the next day or within 2 days. So, I mean, if you're ever wandering around Beijing and you see a bunch of people doing this with their phone looking around, they're shopping at Walmart. Again, that's sort of the progression that we're making in terms of connectivity. So for a retailer like Walmart, connecting customers with product in the most effective, most efficient, and the lowest cost manner, it's pretty critical for us moving forward to stay ahead of this type of technology.
Scott, the United States of America distributing your goods is probably a different issue than distributing your goods throughout Asia. What kind of challenges are you facing in distributing the merchandise that you are actually putting on the shelf? And my other question is, how many % of the products that you have on the shelf in Walmart Asia is coming from the Asia-Pacific region?
You know, it's a very, very good question. So first of all, I think that, you know, Walmart and the National Center for APEC and the APEC communities are very aligned in the initiatives. So one of those critical initiatives is infrastructure. So if you were to look in a country like China that grew so quickly, there's a level of fragmentation that developed in the supply chain. If you were to look at fresh, for example, or grocery, the thousands and thousands of suppliers to be able to operate a store is inherently inefficient. We're building in distribution systems to be able to centralize that. And as we centralize, we can take out costs, we can cut out the middlemen. I think that's true across all of the Asia-Pacific countries, and I think that there is a huge opportunity for the interconnectivity of the physical world through infrastructure. When it comes to the issue of local sourcing, retail is local by definition. In China, 95% of what we sell, we source out of China. And even a country like Japan, which is seen as a very, very high import nation, 70% of what we sell in Japan, we source in Japan. So the idea that the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, would offer a negative challenge, I think Prime Minister Abe is absolutely right. I think it's a huge opportunity for Japan to get itself out of this spiral of stagflation and rebuild its economy and rebuild the opportunity for its citizens to improve their standard of living. Even with all of that, the majority of what a retailer in Japan will sell will be sourced in Japan.
Just to be specific a little bit, you were saying thousands and thousands and thousands of products. How many thousands of products? And how is it being supplied from the Asia-Pacific region? And which country, if I may ask you, is supplying most of the products, and which is, how is it being, how do you categorize it?
Peter,
when you say 1,000 and 1,000, 100,000, 200,000 products?
Okay, so we have roughly...
And you said thousands of suppliers, and how many thousand suppliers?
So we have about, for example, I'll use China as an example. We have about 35,000 SKUs, products, main products that are standard year-round that we're selling in China. And it depends on the category. So if you were to look at fresh, we have direct farm programs where we're dealing with tens of thousands of farmers in China to be able to consolidate through the co-ops to come into our stores. So we work with them in a different way than, for example, we would deal with a multinational whereby they have wholesalers and resellers. And what we do is we ask them to come into our distribution system. So the consolidation is taking place, 95%. In terms of what we're importing, we have about 12 countries in APEC from which we source. Some of it is going to be apparel that's coming out of South Asia, but a lot of it are differentiated products that customers want. You know, the average person in the world now expects to be able to get fruit year-round. Well, if you live in the north and it's cold, that fruit's not coming from the neighborhood, and we have to create that global supply chain to bring fruit in year-round. Chili, for example, during the off-season. So it's a complex supply chain that is becoming more and more centralized as I think many global retailers look to take cost out.
Thank you, Scott. Let's move on to Terry Gao, founder and chairman of Foxconn. Today, I actually learned something very new from Terry. While we were discussing in the holding room, Terry was talking about how the shipment of merchandise, the shipment of technology, the shipment of people, the shipment of retail goods, and Terry, as you know, is the chairman of Honhai Precision Industry, and that's basically how it started at that point in time. It's now trading at Foxconn Technology Group. It's a Taiwanese multinational electronic contract manufacturing company headquartered in Tucheng, New Taipei, Taiwan. It's also the world's largest electronic contract manufacturer measured by revenues. It produces your iPad, your iPhone, your iPod, your Kindle, PlayStation, Wii, and what have you. Foxconn has been involved in several controversies in the past because of the labor unions. And as we know, APEC, people, that's basically something that we really need to be looking at. Honhai Precision Industry Company Limited was founded in 1974 by Terry Gao as a manufacturer of electrical components, notably electrical connectors for computers. And also, he was one of the main manufacturers of Atari 2600. Foxconn was originally a trade name of Honhai, and a subsidiary later received the name, and this is a subsidiary that later received the name of Foxconn. Let me tell you that Foxconn is now operating in India, in Taiwan, in China, 28 factories, in Brazil, in Mexico, in the United States, in India, in Czechoslovakia, in Slovakia, or Hungary, Finland, Holland, Rome, Russia. Did I miss something out, Terry?
Japan.
And in Japan, of course, you know. Sharp, LCD, 50% owned by Foxconn. Terry, connectivity, people. You manage more than 1 million people all over the world, 1.3, 1.4 million people. You talk to each other, all different languages, what have you. Terry, how do you manage all this?
You ask, you know.
You think this is funny?
Yeah, this is my job, you know, like whole day job, okay? Yes, we are the town-based international company, okay? We are major on the electronic business manufacturers, but we are no longer just manufacturers. People call contract manufacturers. Right now we offer not just, you know, manufacturers. We offer the key components We offer the technology integration. We also offer the design. So we go to in IDM from OEM, ODM, and then IDM and RIDM. Okay, OEMs we follow the customer requirement. ODMs we design the choice, and the IDMs we innovation design manufacture. We design and then pick up, and then we use all component integration technology to show them what technologies to train. And then IDM innovations. Due to we have too many antennas, every customers or every brand names their own design or engineering. But right now it's a lot, my customer or a lot, right now is the contents, software, internet is a trend, okay? So nobody want to touch the hardware. Hardware is like a hard job. Today, you had 5 people in these tables. 4 is in the service industries. I don't want to say the service industry is easy, but service is soft, okay? We are the hard jobs. We come to manufacture side, okay? If we want to recruit 1.4 million engineering workers working together by different over 10 countries, 12 countries, and over 30, 40 locations based manufacturers, it's very, very challenging jobs. I never say this is easy, but I'll say by different customer, different requirement, different components. So today we are connection people. Yes, in the advanced countries, we also want to put a last mile to deliver, like Walmart. Okay, Walmart is selling the product as consumer products for customer. They finished products to final user customer. We call last mile. But we do the components to consumer. Okay, especially recently the e-commerce coming. So people orders on website, and then we can direct handle for customer from components. Due to too many electronic components, its pricing always up and down. Okay, like a DRAM, like all the semiconductor process, is pricing always supply chain and demand up, demand and requirement always up and down. So today the $1, tomorrow is $2, and then the day after tomorrow maybe 20 cents. So always how you can manage your inventory, how you manage your production line, how you manage in the pipeline to vendors pipeline inventory. So we use a lot information technologies, okay, to manage the track. I think the same with DHL, same with Walmart. All the information technologies is very important. Recently, the information technology put on the ICT, okay, communications. So connect people is so important. So we think, how can improve our productivities? Key is information connectivity with people, with people. People get moving, okay? Second, informations. If we, without any kind of informations, how you can catch all your really, how you can on time, how you can on quantity and quality. So this is always, we use leverage or very strong to teams. We have over 30,000 IT engineering, okay, working the day and night. So this is called the information moving. And third is, if we go to logistics, supply chain, cargo moving, okay, due to pricing over up and down, okay, your inventory is today and tomorrow, pricing different, maybe phase out, okay, so your inventory sometimes, is variable, but sometimes is will become to decline the volume. So this is how can manage very low inventory, and then customer demand, customer need, you should be provide. Customer don't need, you should be stop your production line. So this is also a challenge. We go to supply chain cargo moving, and also, yes, and then technologies moving. So right now is all electronic business. Technology moving is rapidly, okay? Like a UAL. Every time we need to send people to send a product, go to UAL to approve, sometimes take 4 to 2 weeks to waiting list. So this, for me, we production line, production lead time, period, only 2 or 3 weeks. But we need waiting for UAL for 4 to 6 weeks. But safety is so important. But once, all the process, we have a very standard SOP. For every country, we need to build standards, working standards, technology standards, testing spec standards. And this all also SOP. We should be follow SOP. So this goes to technology moving. And then finally is money moving. We go to money moving. It's just all the money, all the finance transactions. When you get a pay or you get your supply chain, so we go to supply chain finance is futures. So right now we're working for these several factories, managing all the 12 countries, over 30, 40 factories in 40 locations. So we daily information, daily management. The key is should be control. Without controls, you lost it. Okay. So connection Asia is so important. The key is these regions for us is
connecting Asia
yes,
Pacific.
Yes.
Asia Pacific.
Right. Right.
Terry, just in case you remember, how many factories do you run?
Around the world.
Yeah. How many? Do you know? Do you remember?
I remember, I was close to, 40.
How many?
40.
40. 40.
Yes. 40.
40 factories all around the world. What about Terry? This is a big operation, people connecting. And may I ask you one question? When we were talking and when we were actually sitting in the holding room, I said the most difficult part is connecting to people and managing people. Now, Frank Appel didn't agree with me, and you said that connecting or managing people is actually one of the most interesting things actually in business. Is that so?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you have, if you are in the service industry and operate as many people as we operate around the world in every country of the world, you have to love people. You have to enjoy. We are actually asking every year our employees about how they feel to work for our company. We are very proud that we have improved that in the last 5 years every year. So the people are more engaged, and because if you don't love your people, how they can provide great service to our customers, it's impossible. So that's the fun part. If I'm traveling around the world and visit the countries, and I have visited a lot of countries.
Connecting and labor is not an issue in the Asia-Pacific region.
I think it's, of course there are always challenges with regard to, how you organize that, but I think our job is to energize, enable our people around the world, and if you do that, you get along as well with unions, because I think that's the only way how you really can.
And you were saying that dealing with people is actually easier than connecting and dealing with bureaucracies. You mind to repeat that?
So, I didn't say that, but somebody else said that.
Else said that. Okay.
I said it's, of course, we are, companies are very interesting anyway, because we are global, and we have full authority about what we can do. And therefore, we have a big advantage over, governments or regulators, because we have control about the things we are doing, and we can make a significant difference. So I see our role really that we are pushing connectivity around the world. For an employee, for me, in Indonesia is equally important as an employee in Germany or the US or South Africa, wherever you go. These are all people who are working hard to make our company successful, providing great service. And that is our job. What we are doing is we are creating global cultures. We are talking about the same themes around the world. And that helps because these people we employ are citizens of the respective countries. And if they see that we can do something for them, they will ask their own governments as well, why can our government not do more to open up the markets, to connect the countries more. And I think that's where our companies as global players play an important role, which, we can do more, I think, as a company to support governance to do the right stuff.
Okay, thank you, Frank. We'll come back on that particular issue. Let me now give the chance to Tony Fernandes, just in case you don't know who Tony Fernandes is. But obviously everybody does know Tony Fernandes in the region. Well, Tony Fernandes is running is the founder of a company by the name of AirAsia Berhad, a Malaysian cost airline. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, you are a, how do you call it? Not a Tengku, right? You are a, how do you?
God.
Tony Fernandes. Not a Datu also, right? Anyway, headquartered in Jakarta now. It has been named as one of the world's best low-cost airline and is a pioneer of low-cost travel in Asia. AirAsia Group operates scheduled domestic and international flights to 78 destinations. Tony didn't agree with me. He said 90 destinations, spanning over 25 countries. Its main hub is the low-cost carrier terminal in Kuala Lumpur. It has a village in Thailand, Thai AirAsia, Indonesia AirAsia, Philippines AirAsia, AirAsia Japan, has hubs in Don Muang International Airport, Soekarno-Hatta, Narita International Airport, Ninoy Aquino International Airport, and in Cebu International Airport. AirAsia operates with the lowest unit cost of available seats per kilometers of 0.023 and a passenger break-even load factor of only 52%. Pretty efficient, I believe. Has a crew productivity level that is triple that of Malaysia Airlines and achieve an average aircraft utilization rate of 13 hours a day. Tony, how do you see the development in the airline industry in Asia? A very competitive industry worldwide. How do you see the open air policy in the ASEAN region? How will it contribute to regional growth? And how do you, as Terry said, do you see the connectivity of people and the movement of passengers in this part of the world, in the Asia-Pacific region?
Thanks, Peter. Firstly, can I just make sure everyone knows that Peter Gontha is actually on the board of one of my competitors, Garuda, and CityLink. So please discount 50% of his questions.
Tony, can you get straight to the point? Thank you, Tony.
But more importantly, in our last lives, we were both in the music business, and Peter wanted to be a singer and asked me to sign him as an artist, which I promptly rejected. And that's why he's always waiting to pay me back. I think on the aviation business, we are connecting people, and we've connected ASEAN in a tremendous way. 50% of our destinations are destinations that were never served before, such as Bandung, for instance. There was never a flight into Bandung, and now we do 32 flights a day. I know Bandung because, for the Indonesians here, I used to record dangdut music there. I was the king of dangdut at one stage. And that, I think, is the huge potential we have in Asia, is the propensity to grow tremendously. AirAsia started 11 years ago with just 2 planes, and today we have 150 planes. Our first year we carried 200,000 passengers, and this year we'll carry 46 million passengers. And we've been through every calamity known to mankind. You know, we've had SARS, bird flu, tsunami, earthquakes, high oil, low oil, credit crisis, you name it, we've had it. But it shows the tremendous resilience, one of the region, and the incredible consumer power. So I think the aviation business is a very key economic driver going forward. I think connecting people and connecting economies is critical for our development going forward. I think things that will hold us back is regulation. I think airlines are super protected, and that sometimes economic development and rational thought is held back because of nationalism. And I think that's a big challenge for APEC and Asian countries going forward, that actually everyone benefits by opening up. I think infrastructure is going to be a key issue going forward in providing connectivity. We have many airports that are very, very full now. People think it's just about building terminals, etc., but it's controlling the airspace, making sure we're efficient there, making sure we have enough runways as well. But I think the future is good. I just want to end on two little stories to show how positive I am. You know, I'm thrilled we're in Bali. I think it's the greatest place in the world, and we've done very well here. We have a huge hub here as well. During the Bali bomb, you know, everyone wanted to cancel flights to Bali. And the day after the bomb, people were calling up and saying, we want to cancel, we want to go to Bali, etc. And I told my people, no, we have to continue the connectivity. We have to help the Balinese people now, because this is when they need us most. And I said, we cannot cancel a flight. We have to carry on. And so we came up with a Love Bali campaign. You know, we gave away 5,000 free seats. And I knew my Malaysians brothers very well. Put a low fare, they will risk their lives. You know, 800 ringgit to Bali, no, it's too dangerous, etc. 80 ringgit, who cares? And it's the same for SARS. During SARS, no one wanted to fly because they thought they were going to die on the aircraft. So I chopped fares by 90%, and again, my Malaysian brothers didn't let me down. Who cares about SARS if there's a low fare? So I think the resilience of Asia is very strong. I think, obviously, we have loads of people. We have, within ASEAN, there are 10 phenomenal countries, 10 huge developments. There's so much connectivity that we can provide. The key to really maximize this is for governments to be brave, not look at self-interests, and to say, what's good for my people, and open up the airspace, open up connectivity, because connectivity in air provides, one, integration of people. People get to know each other better. Obviously, tourism and small, medium enterprises benefit tremendously from opening up the economies.
How do you see the open air policy in ASEAN?
I think it's moving in the right direction, but it's got a long way to go. And I think ASEAN has to think as one. And in fact, ASEAN airlines are at a disadvantage because when China and India negotiate with ASEAN, they negotiate as one. But within the 10 countries, sometimes we negotiate as 10 countries. So I think there's still a bit to go, but we're making progress. The fact that we're in existence shows that ASEAN has made tremendous progress.
I have one last question for you, Tony. But do you give away iPads and iPhones to people?
No, we charge for everything. Do you give away iPads in Garuda?
No. Okay, I have one last question for you, Tony. Fuel prices. There is no, what can I say? How can I say? There is, nobody knows where the fuel prices are going, where it's going up, where it's going down. Airlines are depending very much on fuel. There are rumors that AirAsia is hedging its fuel prices for the next 3 years. You said that's not true, that's gambling. Where do you see fuel prices? How do you see connectivity being affected by fuel prices?
I think you've got to build a business whatever the cost structure is. I started AirAsia, as I said, 11 years ago. Oil price was $30. Jet fuel today is $120 and has gone up as high as $150. Yet our margins have increased. You know, we have 19% margins. So we can't, you know, I might as well go to the casino to know where oil price is going. You've got to make sure that you can build a business at whatever oil price is. I am an oil bear. I think it's all those big banks in the world that are keeping oil price high because there's plenty of it around. But the fundamental thing is whatever business you're in, you have to make sure that you can make a margin at whatever cost until Terry comes up with a new oil manufactured in one of his 40 companies, coconut oil or something, which will make it cheaper. But the reality is, I don't worry too much about the oil price. I am a bear. I think it eventually will go down because there's a tremendous amount, but we have to live with whatever the price is.
Tony, before I give questions to the floor, may I ask one of you gentlemen to give a comment on, whoever wants to make the comment, how fuel prices are going to affect connectivity, distribution. By the way, Terry, you said there is one thing that I actually did not mention, the movement of money, right? That is another thing that is happening in connectivity. Banks' policies related to the movement of money and transfers of money. But any of you wanted to make comment on fuel prices, how this will impact connectivity?
Yeah, may I start? Of course, fuel price has impact on logistics costs.
If you can make the short.
Yeah, so
Frank,
I will. So you know,
give...
I think of course, fuel price has a significant impact on logistics cost. But it's unpredictable, as you said, Peter, already. What will happen in short term? With shale gas, maybe fuel prices will even be stable or going further down. But there is something which has an important part, and our job is to reduce the landed cost for any product continuously, and we can do that. I think there are a lot of ways. If you take an administration burden out of countries, you can compensate for increasing fuel prices because the processes get smoother and simpler. And I think that is what governments can watch if fuel prices are going up to keep the logistics costs, because work share is important for the emerging markets to get a fair share of the future development.
Yeah.
Thank you, Frank. I think we have another 8 or 9 minutes to go in this session. We are allowed to give 3 questions. I would start in the middle. In the center, I see Frankie and Taguh over there. And one question from the right side. Let's start with the question on the left. Please mention your name and what your question is. On the left, from my perspective, anybody there? Yes, please. Microphone. And please, can you please tell me who you're addressing the question?
Hi, Peter. My name is Tiva. I'm from Indonesia. I'm representing actually for all of Indonesia, I think. I'd like to see to Tony Fernandes. Tony, before I met you before, 2010, I think. And now, and you show yourself as an apprentice in Malaysia.
Your question, please.
My question is that managing people are so important in your company, like most companies do. But then, how do you bring that connectivity across Asia? I mean, I need to know what is your perspective on the issue to embrace more openness. Sometimes in each country they have barriers, and in regard to your company and even like a DHL, to bring that penetration to the market, and can be quite tough. And that's why what we can learn all this APEC CEO Summit, we can learn from you, something like that. That's my question.
Okay, Tony, if you can help. A second question, please. Yes, the gentleman with the glasses. You don't have glasses. Both glasses. The gentleman in front with the glasses, yes. The white shoes, yes, please. Both are glasses, so whoever gets the mic first.
Okay, so my name is Gilang. I'm from APEC Voice of the Future from Indonesia. I have a question for for all of you. So
who do you want to answer the
question? So for Tony.
Tony, you're popular. It's your head. Your head. It's your head.
Okay, so my question is about how we can make the condition balance between the connectivity on Asia Pacific with the growing of the small medium enterprise in the internal country, because we know together if the connectivity is easier across Asia Pacific, there is a burden with the growing of small medium enterprise in internal country. So my question is about how you guys can make it balanced. Thank you.
I think it's a very interesting question, and small and medium enterprises, your big companies, small and medium enterprises are very important towards the growth of the Asia Pacific. people like Terry, you're using small and medium enterprises to supply goods to your factory, I believe. I think a good question. Tony, 2 questions for you. Last question on the right-hand side, please. Gentleman, raise his hand over there. I'm sorry, gentleman in the back. Go ahead, stand up, please. Your name?
Me. Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Muhammad Fadil. I'm from Indonesia. I have a question for Frank. Good morning, Frank. You know that Asian will going to have a Asian Economic Cooperation in 2015. So will the DHL will tap these opportunities in 2015? And what the issues that you're very concerned about investing in Asia during the cooperation in 2015? And one question for Tony. Tony, we know that input costs are now rising, labor costs are rising, fuel prices are rising. So how AirAsia will cope with this problem to maintain the cost flexibility to your business? Thank you.
Are you guys all in the airline industry or what? Anyway, thank you very much. Tony, you want to answer those 2 questions?
Yeah, I can't remember the first one now. I'll go with the third one. First of all, as costs are rising, we just have to look at more efficient methods of reducing cost and finding new ways of generating revenue. So part of the efficiencies come from size. As we get bigger, we have cost efficiencies and technology. Technology has been a great enabler for us. 85% of our business is now done on the internet. We believe the mobile phone is going to be a huge reducer of cost. So very soon when you fly in AirAsia, you won't require a boarding pass. You can check in on your mobile phone, etc. And then in terms of revenue, you know, we see ourselves as a mini Walmart in some ways. We have 44 million people that fly with us. When you're on the plane, you don't have a lot to do. So we're going to sell you everything on the aircraft, from iPads to DHL service to products from Walmart. I mean, that's a little bit of a joke, but not far from it. So basically, we've got to be innovative in dealing with rising cost. In terms of the small, medium enterprise, that's what I've been telling governments over and over. The growth of Asia is not through these massive companies that are on this table. They will contribute, of course. But I think we need many more entrepreneurs, many more SMEs, you know, many more. As Terry first started with a small company, now he employs 1.2 million people. And that's a phenomenal amount of people. When I walked into the room, they were all talking about how many millions of people they employed. I wanted to walk out of the room, actually. Because they were all talking about 40,000, 1 million, 300,000, etc. But I think the future of Asia and Asia Pacific is really the SMEs and creating more entrepreneurs and creating an ecosystem so that entrepreneurs can get funding and can drive ideas going forward. From AirAsia's point, we provide a low-cost alternative, a low-cost travel so that entrepreneurs can expand their business outside of their home market. And connecting secondary cities, which has been our growth, has been a key element of that. And then the first question...
I think the question was, how are you committed to participating in the development of small, medium enterprises by providing, for example, you know, very interesting low-cost cargo prices for small and medium enterprises?
We do that anyway. We're much cheaper than DHL. So come use AirAsia Cargo. I think the key is reaching out and connecting, and the internet provides us that. Secondly, on SMEs, we have 2 ways of getting ideas into our system. Most of our products, whether IT or even our hardware, has come from SMEs because we have a platform where we enable companies within ASEAN to pitch their ideas and pitch their services to us. And we have finally a social entrepreneur fund which funds many businesses in terms of, we don't really believe in charity, we believe in people helping themselves. So we provide funds for communities to develop businesses. So those are 3 ways we do that.
Well, okay, Frank, I've given you enough time to think to respond on his comment just now, but that they are cheaper than you are. But actually, there came a question also for you. Can you address or answer the question?
Yeah, so I would like to say something about SMEs as well, but you know.
Are you cheaper or more expensive?
I think we create more value for money.
Oh, you create. Go ahead.
So I think, you know, let me talk, even if the question was first about, you know, opening up the markets in Asia and so on, but, you know, SMEs are an important area because SMEs are very important for the development of any region, and particularly here. You know, despite that we are representing collectively 4 million employees around the world, the SMEs will be an important part of the future of Asia. So what they struggle with are, you know, access to markets, and we can help them as a company to understand, you know, what formalities you have to fulfill to sell your product somewhere in other markets. Governments can do a fortune to reduce a burden. You know, what Keith is doing makes money for his company, but the certification in every separate country is a burden, particularly for small, medium enterprises, because they can't afford to get, you know, the certificate for all the markets. So I think we can provide reliable service because we know how to transport the products, but the governments have to do that. And that comes to, you know, open up the markets. I think ASEAN will be successful. It will head in the right direction. It will help, but that's not enough. TPP, TTIP for the US and Europe are important things. The more we, you know, and we are not talking about duties. Duties is one thing. But the administrative burden is much more, you know, we expect and we guess that you can accelerate growth much more by reducing the administrative burden on things than reducing duties. So there's a very often, you know, the guessing that duties are the burden. The real burden comes from the processes behind the customers and the countries. And I think this is where I'm very optimistic that the ASEAN agreement will work, and even beyond that, we will see more open markets, and that will help particularly the small and medium enterprises, which are creating in many countries, like in Indonesia, a lot of jobs.
Thank you, Frank. Brings me to Keith. Keith and both Scott. I mean, small and medium enterprises, people, development, the future of the Asia-Pacific region. How do you, Keith, see the development of, and your participation and your commitment to development of the small and medium enterprises? Obviously, like countries like Japan and the United States, the small and medium enterprises are going to play a very, very, very important role in the development of the economies in the Asia-Pacific. How is your commitment, your company's commitment towards technology and the small and medium enterprises?
Well, the vast majority of the customers that we do business with are, in fact, SMEs. And therefore, we actually do a lot to help educate them in terms of how to make safe product, how to access markets around the world. We help connect them into regulatory systems. And I think the point Frank made is very important, that one of the burdens we have in the world is that we have so many different systems of standards and testing and certification that, in fact, one way we could help SMEs, one way we could help connectivity, one way we could improve lives for consumers would be to work toward a system where we have harmonized standards, harmonized testing, harmonized certification. We always say one standard, one test, one mark. That would be an incredible benefit for SMEs, but it would also be an incredible benefit for consumers.
Commitment to the development of the people, per se?
Sorry?
Commitment to the development of the people in the small, medium enterprise.
Yeah, that's actually so critical, and I think one of the questions that
will you do that? Are you committed? Your
we are doing that, yes. Yeah, we definitely do that. We do training for them. We help educate them. We do a lot of training with our own people as well for internal development.
Thank you. Scott?
Yeah,
with all the products that you have, small, medium enterprises are giving the priorities.
So, you know, our job is to be the advocate for our customers. So, you know, we react to customers' requests. So there are certain categories that are scale, whether it be, you know, things like consumables, products, paper products, and these sorts of things, where there are very few small and medium enterprises. But there is a massive still number of small and medium enterprises that we deal with. A lot of it is in agriculture, et cetera. Quite honestly, we also see innovation comes from small and medium enterprises. So in our industry, we try and balance the scale and the price at a great quality with trying to be developers of innovation and create that ongoing level of innovation that continues to come through. So we're always investing in both. I see SMEs as being critical moving forward. In developing markets in particular, the vast majority of companies are SMEs. They are looking for access. They are looking for the opportunity to be able to not only get investment, but simply just get visibility in products. So I think in developing markets as well as in particular in the APEC countries, SMEs are something that require support.
Thank you, Scott. Terry, SMEs, are you going to involve more SMEs in the manufacturing of your products?
Yes.
You will?
Yes.
That's quite an answer. Yes, he said. Gentlemen, we have 2 more minutes to go. I would like each of you, starting with Tony this time, give a little 30-second hope or presentation about how you see the Asia-Pacific region and how connectivity is going to be, what connectivity will provide to this region and how important that is. 30-second each of you, gentlemen, if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, super bullish. I mean, we've got the numbers on our side. There are 3 billion people here. There is much of it not connected. The potential for Asia-Pacific going forward with being connected is enormous. When you look at what connectivity has done in Europe and America, I think the future looks very rosy for us, and connectivity is going to play a very key part in our economic and social development.
Thank you, Tony. Cherry?
I would also encourage the APEC countries to consider the PPP models, public, private sector, and then partnerships models, and take advantage of the efficiency of the private sector to help the government to develop the regional economics.
Thank you, Terry. Scott?
Very excited about the region. If you look at the global growth in middle-class spending over the next 20 years, 80% of it will come from here. But even on top of that, there is still a lot of poverty in the region, and I think there's a lot that...
There's still a lot of poverty in the region.
There is still a lot of poverty in this region, and I think that there's a big opportunity for driving free trade, driving programs, both public and private, that can address that issue. While that burgeoning middle class improves their standard of living.
Keith?
Yeah, I would totally agree with Tony that I'm very bullish on the potential future for Asia. I think in the last 20 years...
Asia-Pacific.
Asia-Pacific. We've seen a sea change in the last 20 years in terms of connectivity within the region, and barring some unusual, unforeseen major disruption, I think it's only going to accelerate.
Thank you, Keith. Frank?
Yeah, we as a company have a very clear purpose. We are connecting people, improving their lives, and we will do our utmost to really help to make that happen in Asia. I think the future of Asia is terrific, and we will make our contribution to that, whatever it takes.
Thank you, Frank. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud to be able to actually moderate the session with these 5 very important leading executives of the world. A European company, Deutsche Post DHL, operating in the Asia-Pacific region. Technology, Keith, operating in the region. Walmart, one of the biggest supply chains and, if I may say, supermarkets or...
Retailers.
Retail. American in the region, one of the biggest technology companies, manufacturers in Asia, and Tony Fernandes, obviously, one of the biggest, most successful low-cost carriers in the world. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm very proud to be allowed to be your moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Gontha, our moderator for session 7. And that wraps up our first session of day 2. We shall move straight into our next session, session 8.